I recognize a few of you guys in the audience, actually a lot of you guys in the audience, but it's great to see you all out here today. You're all walking or volunteering for an excellent cause, and that's a wonderful thing. So today, I'm here to talk to you guys about mental illness and about suicide. These two subjects are extremely prevalent nationally and internationally, yet neither of them is talked about. Or should I say, neither of them is talked about enough. Did you know that suicide is the second leading cause of death in college students? I didn't. Did you know that 1 out of 5 individuals will experience some sort of onset of a mental illness in their lifetime? Because I didn't. Even more than that, I didn't know that I would be the one in that statistic. I was ashamed. I hated this part of me that I felt that I couldn't control. And the fact that stigma, discrimination, and flat-out lies surrounding mental illness and suicide are everywhere, including people's mouths, news headlines, magazines, that didn't help. So here I am asking, where's the truth? Where's the raw, emotional, harsh reality that can only come from those who've experienced it firsthand? Where is it? And how can we change our ideas and our beliefs about it? When will somebody speak up and say enough is enough? Now. The silence ends now. The silence ends today. I refuse to be quiet about this. I'm going to talk, and I won't be silenced. I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you my truth. My struggle with mental illness began when I was about 10 years old. My parents began to notice changes in me, changes that were all too familiar to people like my dad, who struggles with obsessive compulsive disorder, or commonly known as OCD. Speaking of which, I've never liked the term disorder. In society, disorder indicates that there is something wrong with a place or a person and their functioning. This room is disorderly. I don't want there to be chaos and disorder in my life. You have a disorder? What's wrong with you? It's not a term that anyone wants to be associated with. At least, that is exactly what my nearly 10-year-old self thought when my therapist told me that I had obsessive compulsive disorder and major depression one morning in March of 2002. Suddenly, it all made sense. My therapist wasn't asking about why I washed my hands so often or why certain textures bothered me to the point of anxiety out of pure interest. She wasn't asking about how often I felt extremely sad because she cared. She was doing it to put a label on me, and it was a label that I didn't want. Many months after my initial diagnosis, and I continued to hide that piece of information from those that I cared the most about. To me, I was doing both myself and them a favor. Why would they want to be associated with someone like me? There was something wrong with me. I didn't even want to be associated with me. I wanted to run to the complete opposite end of the world and scrub myself clean of this part of me that I just didn't want. I spent a lot of time feeling ashamed and just plain sorry for myself. Furthermore, I spent a lot of time extremely depressed to the point of being bedridden and wanting to hide away from the outside world for days at a time. I remember telling my mom many times, I just want to go into a coma for a couple years and be able to wake up feeling okay. Much of the time, this depression resulted not only from shame and stigma that I faced from myself and my peers, but it also stemmed from the thought of the moment, as I called it, an obsession in the form of an object, TV show, and most often, people. My compulsions were oftentimes in the form of washing my hands multiple times, asking for and seeking reassurance that people were actually my friends, counting in threes, avoiding cracks in the sidewalk, and various tics, usually involuntary noises, but also sometimes facial expressions, and none of these I could control. Things got so bad in 2003 that I began ruminating on the idea of suicide. That thought and the ideation associated with it was very much like a weed. Once it began to grow, there was no stopping it or preventing it from happening. It was just there. To me, it was a plan B. If things got too bad, I knew I could always end it right then and there. In a twisted sort of logic, it was reassuring to know that I could end the hell that I was experiencing somehow, some way. On June 18th, in the summer of 2003, 2 days before my 11th birthday, and 1 day before I'd started my first antidepressant or psychotropic medication, it got so bad that I was hospitalized. The memory of that night itself is very blurry. I remember grabbing the medication that I was on and running out the door and down the end of the cul-de-sac and screaming at my mom that I was going to do it. My cheeks were tear-stained. My mind was exhausted. Yet even through the hellish mindset I was in, I knew I didn't want to die. I wanted to escape. I wanted to hurt this thing on the outside to try to kill the pain on the inside. I was committed to the same psychiatric hospital in Vallejo 3 times that summer. Since then, I've been hospitalized once in 2008 and another time in 2011, but that time was voluntary. Again, neither time was rooted in an intense will to die, just an escape from the personal hell that I was living in. I have learned that there isn't an option for that. You can't just escape or run away from what you are dealing with, no matter what form it might take. You'll be running forever, and you'll be running in circles until you stop and you look that monster inside your mind straight in the eye. I've learned that you can be on medication or therapy, or both, but neither is going to help you unless you do the work. For years, in fact, I attended cognitive behavioral therapy groups, and I was on over 15 different antidepressant medications until I found the 2 I am on now, which I have been on for several years. But I didn't do the work. I didn't do the work until my sophomore year in college, when I told myself that my second year of college was the year I wasn't going to let the cycle continue anymore. I'm responsible for my own health. I'm responsible for how I live my life and what kind of people I let into my life. I'm responsible for the kind of thoughts I think, and at any moment, I'm responsible for deciding that this is not the life that I want to live. It's not always easy. There are days when I still don't want to get out of bed, but I do it. There are times when I say, I don't need this medication, I'm doing fine. But I know I won't be, and that the medication is helping me, so I take it, and that's just how it is. If I could summarize what life with mental illness is like in 3 words, I would say, it goes on. I have a mental illness, so what? I know people who've dealt with cancer and lived. I also know people who haven't. I know people with heart disease who are doing their best to survive through whatever difficulties they face. Some live, some don't. I know many people with mental illness in any of its forms, and they are fighting like hell to survive it and to overcome the challenges that they face. I know people who've survived it and tell their story just like I'm doing here today, and I know people who haven't. In John Legend's words, we're all just ordinary people. We are all just trying to make it in life with what we've been given and what we're trying to make the most of it with. Yet, if that is the case, why is there so much stigma surrounding mental illness? What makes heart disease or cancer or arthritis or any other physical ailment superior to physical illness of the brain or mind? After all, the evidence is out there. This is not just in our heads. Regardless, none of it's easy. Every single one of those illnesses mentioned is difficult, and every single one of them takes the will to live and to fight to defeat it. It is not okay. It's not right. Today, we are all walking for a reason. Maybe we are walking for someone else. After all, we all know someone, and that someone needs our support and needs our compassion to overcome what they are facing every day. Or maybe we are walking for ourselves. Maybe today we are walking in order to see that we are not alone in our struggle and that there are others out there who want to understand and to help us get through it. Whatever our reason may be, we are here. We are here despite the stigma, ignorance, and discrimination that is still out there surrounding mental illness. We are going to walk, and we will not be silenced while we're doing so. We are here to speak up and say that enough is enough. We are here for our mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, grandparents, cousins, friends, and significant others. We are here for those who are not with us today. May they rest in peace. We will not be silenced. I will not be silenced. I will scream at the top of my lungs, and I will do it with pride. This is who I am. This is a part of who I am, and I love who I am. I love all that I am, and you should too. And you should love each other for being here today and for being willing to rise up against the powerful force of the stigma out there. Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher, coined the famous quote, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." So let's take this step and let's begin this journey together. Thank you.